Hello friends! Today we will learn how to hook DirectInput 8. DirectInput is used by many games to retrieve data from input devices such as mouse, keyboard or other controllers. Therefore, hooking some of its methods allows us to mess with that data. We can block the data, redirect it to the menu such as ImGui or even simulate input. Let me show you what we will end up with at the end of this video. As you can see here, we can block mouse and keyboard input and as a small extra list all active devices, hence exposing all my epic gamer gear. Enough prep talk, let's do this.
But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? Knowledge.
That's a hacking group we've been reporting on that's claimed responsibility for recent attacks.
Alright, before we start coding, we need to do our research. DirectInput implements COM interfaces for devices. Look at this graph. This is how COM objects and hence our target is structured. Starting with a pointer to an interface, that interface contains a pointer to its VEEP table at the very start. And that vtable contains the desired pointers to methods we want to hook. This VEEP table is shared between device instances. If you have seen my video about hooking DirectX 9, you might already have an idea what I'm going to do with this. Just like we did then, we are going to create a new device and get the vtable address that way. Now let's see which functions we want to hook. There are two functions that the game might use to grab data. First, there is the getDeviceData method. This one can be used to retrieve buffered data. It obtains all data that has been collected since the last call. This function is often used to get keyboard input data. And then there is getDeviceState. This one gives the current state of the device, often used for mouse input, to check whether or not one of the mouse buttons is currently down. Okay, enough theory. We start with the basic self-unloading DLL code. If this confuses you, watch my video Hacking Terraria Part 1 linked above. First thing we gotta do is create a DirectInput device. And for this we need to include the appropriate header and lib files. And we have to define which DirectInput version we are using. Unless your target is ancient, the version is 8. We can check the version and if the target is using DirectInput at all by attaching Cheat Engine and inspecting the loaded DLLs. In my case, we see dinput8.dll. Now we can create a DirectInput object using DirectInput8create. First parameter is a handle to our DLL. Next, the version number of DirectInput, here we use the already defined value. Then an identifier of the desired interface, we can just pass IID iDirectInput8. Depending on this parameter, we get an ENSI or Unicode version of the interface. I tried both options and had no issue either way. You can set a breakpoint in the debugger of your choice to figure out which version the game uses. Next, we need a variable to store the interface pointer and pass that as our next parameter. Last parameter is irrelevant for our needs, so we can just pass null. If the object was created successfully, we can now use it to create a device interface. Here the first parameter is the GUID for the desired input device. This parameter is the reason why we link the DXGUID library. With that, we can just use one of the predefined GUIDs like GUID sysmouse. You could also use syskeyboard instead. Makes no difference for our purpose. For the next parameter, we need a device interface variable and we pass the pointer to that variable. The last parameter receives the same treatment as the previous function, meaning we pass null. If the device interface has been created successfully, we can now grab its vtable. And with that, the function pointers of interest. It is time to remember that graph I showed you in the beginning. Let's go step by step to maximize our insight. First, we have the pointer to the interface we just created, so let's output that. Then, by reading what is stored at that address, we obtain the pointer to the vtable. Because, as mentioned before, that pointer is the first thing stored inside the interface. Function pointers are stored at offsets to the vtable. So by adding the size of such an address times the index, we get the function pointer. And finally, by reading what is stored at that address, we get the address of the function itself. Let's output all these addresses and have a look in Cheat Engine. First, the device pointer. Here we can see that the first thing is indeed an address. If we go to that address, we see a ton more addresses. This is indeed the vtable. So here, we need to grab the address of the function we want to hook. This address, of course, is stored at an offset to the vtable address. That offset is the size of one such address times the index. Let's, for example, take the address at index 9, so we count up to 9. Take that address and have a look at the opcode stored starting at that location. It's clearly the start of a function. Once we have hooked this function, we can come back and see how it changed. The next question is, at which index in the vtable is the function that we want to hook? To figure this out, we can have a look at the DirectInput header file. Here we see the definition of the device interface, including all its methods. As with all COM interfaces, the first three methods are queryInterface, addRef, and release. Now remember, the methods we want to hook are getDeviceState and getDeviceData. Simply by counting, we find out that getDeviceState is at index 9 and getDeviceData at index 10. Back in our DLL, let's grab the code we just wrote and paste it into a new function. Passing the device pointer and an index, we return the address of the function at that vtable index. Now we need to hook these functions. Let's take a look at getDeviceState first. This is a WinAPI function, and as such the calling convention is stdcall. Since the function is a class member function, we need to pass the dispointer as first parameter, followed by the given parameters. With this information, we can typedef the function pointer, and then create a function pointer to later store the original function address. Next, we write the function we want to execute when hooking getDeviceState. Parameters and return value have to be the same as the original function. Inside, we first execute the original function using the function pointer. After that call, the parameters store the information we are interested in. CBData is the size of the buffer in the LPV data parameter in bytes. This means we can use it to figure out which device called this method. There are multiple different predefined data formats. Now remember, this function is usually used to check the state of the mouse. So in our function, we check if the size is equal to one of the two predefined mouse structures. If so, we have a look at the buffer. Since we are now pretty sure which structure we are dealing with, we can cast the LPV data accordingly. Having a look at these structures, we read that X, Y, and Z, as well as the state of the buttons, are stored. RGB buttons is an array of bytes. First index is the left mouse button, second index the right mouse button, etc. If the byte at the first index is not 0, then the button is down, else it is up. Let's output that information to console for testing purposes. Since we are already here, let's also add the option to block the mouse input by creating a bool variable which we will set in our main loop. If that variable is true, we can simply set the value in the array to 0. Now in our main function, let's finally hook getDeviceState. For this I use MS Detours. Please note, in the free version this only works for x86 and you need version 1.5 for the detour function method. First argument is the address of the function we want to hook. So here we pass the value returned by our getFunctionAddress function, passing index 9. since that is the index of the getDeviceState method in the vtable. Second parameter is our own function. Return value is the new address of the original function. Next, the getDeviceData function. Again, we have a good look at the documentation. And again, we find that we are dealing with a WinAPI and class member function, which again indicates STD calling convention and this pointer as farce parameter, followed by the parameters as defined in the documentation. So again, we type dev.dat and create a variable to store the function pointer of the original function after the hook. Then we create the function we want to execute. Again, first we call the original function using the function pointer we just created. Then things are a bit different. Remember, this function is used to obtain buffered data, which means there may be more than one element storing the information we want and so desperately need. The parameter inout stores the amount of elements, so we can use that to loop through the array. The RGDOD parameter is the actual array of elements which are of type DiDeviceObjectData. The first variable in this structure is DWOFS, which is the offset into the current data format of the object whose data is being reported. Since we assume that this object is a keyboard, let's have a look at its data structure. Here we can see all the possible keys. In fact, these are all defined in the DirectInput header, so we can compare the data we have with the according definitions to check if a certain key is pressed. The next variable in the structure is DWData, and for button input, its low byte is not 0 if the button was pressed and 0 if it was released. Again, let's add the option to block the input. Here we can do this simply by setting the array size to 0. Now we hook this function in a similar fashion to getDeviceState function, only this time the vtable index is 10. Well, that was the hard part. Now I just add a console menu using my old project introduced in the video linked above. In the usual fashion, we have an infinite loop checking for input. If we press numpad 0, we exit the loop. With numpad 1, we set the block mouse bool to whatever value it was not before. Same thing for numpad 2, just this time for block keyboard. If numpad 3 gets pressed, we call the enumDevice method. Honestly, this has nothing to do with hooking DirectInput, but I leave it in here anyways, maybe it's useful to some of you guys. After the loop, we gotta clean up of course. We release the DirectInput and mouse object, we remove our detours, and we free the console. And that's it, so let's test out the result. Well, the video kinda is self-explanatory. Since we lock the keys, you can see that I press the mouse or keyboard, and in case the input is blocked, nothing happens in game. That's kinda cool on its own, but of course it really becomes useful if we use ImGui. We will learn how that works pretty soon. If you wanna know more about simulating the input using these hooks, check out the guided hacking link in the description. The OP is most certainly a man of culture. When you check out that link, you will know what I mean. Well then friends, that's it for this video. I hope you learned a thing or two from it. Until next time friends, talk to you soon.